little mini message at the beginning. If you want to hear David give a larger message, he'll be preaching for the first time at SNL next Saturday night. So feel free to join us 7 o'clock at the Hub on Saturday night, and you'll be blessed that way. I want to elaborate on one thing that David shared. He talked about how today was a bit of a curveball. We had plans for a different band to come join us today, but there was one little missing link, and we're waiting around, and nobody showed up. And it was a beautiful picture of how Matt was the perfect guy for, is Matt still in the room? He's serving somewhere else. Oh, there he is. He's the perfect guy for the job. I love how Ian was here for setup already, on the drums. And because Matt has put in the time over years and years and years, he's got relationships with people that he can call really quickly. So he called Jess, who served with him at youth, and then he called two of his youth, and they saw the bat signal, and they rushed out and did a great job. I'm really thankful for you guys. That was a lot to do on short order. You guys did a great job. Speaking of the right person for the right time, we've got another little announcement and transition to announce. Many of you may have already seen on the website that we have a new administrator. And you're probably like, what do you mean administrator? I'll explain in just a second. I would like to invite Cheryl Roman up. Where are you, Cheryl? I know you're somewhere here. There she is. And you can give her a big hand as she comes up, and I'll explain what's going on. So, Cheryl was the right person for the right time, despite the fact I was actually just writing a little card and I was remembering. Kevin, you might remember this, our date at Red Robin on the patio, where I was trying to pitch Cheryl to come in and be our administrator. For those of you who don't know me, there is a significant gap in my leadership skills when it comes to paperwork. There's a black hole in my brain and on my desk when it comes to paperwork, and so I'm very dependent on a person like Cheryl. And I remember sitting with them and going, I need you to do this. And Cheryl had you been in one or both car accidents at that time? Well, in one that point, and then she had another one shortly thereafter, and she said, just so you know, my brain is scrambled. I will operate at limited capacity. She was the perfect person for the perfect time. And so, she's going to transition into a new season of her life. And I just want to say on behalf of the church how thankful we are for you. You guys have seen her for years at the welcome table. She's kind of been the face of the franchise and kind of linked us all together. And I want to take a second to say thank you on behalf of all of us. I'm going to get you to pray in just a second so you can get excited about that. Shannon and can you please come up? When we were deciding what do we do about the vacation of that position, it was quickly suggested by a couple of people that we should call Shannon and see if she could be the new Cheryl. And it took a little talk and a couple of meetings, and Shannon will be stepping into Cheryl's boots, and she's already hit the ground running. She's kind of secretly already been doing this for a little bit. And so we're excited. We know, again, that you are the perfect person for the perfect time, that God's equipped you and made you ready for this, and we're excited. So I know Cheryl's a prayer, that's why I figured I could just put her on the spot and ask you to pray for Shannon if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Lord, for being here today. Thank you for being with Northridge Church. Father, I just thank you for my time with Northridge and all the ways that you used me. And Father, I just thank you for Shanna stepping up to the plate and hearing your voice and your call. And I pray over her in this new season that you would just cover her, that you would lead her and guide her and give her wisdom, fresh wisdom for the spot, Lord. And we just pray a covering over their family as they serve. I thank you, Lord, for Shanna and the gift she is to Northridge. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Good job, and enjoy your retirement. She will. That's good. And thank you, Kevin, for lending her to us for a little while. It wasn't a little while, it was a few years. All right. I find the topic of today's sermon almost comical based on what happened this morning. There's always a bit of sweat equity that goes into each Sunday morning. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. And I put my 70-year-old parents to work throughout the church, setting up again this morning, and I knew it was going to be a sweaty day anyways. But then we had that curveball with the worship team, and it became a little sweatier just because we were a little nervous about making it all come together. But that provides the perfect backdrop for the message that I believe God has for us today. So let's pray over the word today. Father, we thank you for your word. We know, according to your word, that it is the inspired word of God. It is spirit-breathed. And we know that it's a gift to us to be treasured, to be read through, obviously, but to be just spent time with. And we thank you for the word that you have today through Revelation 2. We pray that you would bless us, give us ears to hear, and soft hearts to receive what you have for us today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Here's the big idea for today. The big idea is that God loves our good works. He loves it when you are diligent, when you are putting in the time, and you're giving the best of your ability to whatever it is you do. His word says, like, whatever you're doing, you should do it as though you're doing it for God. Do you guys remember Christina Williams? Many of you know Christina Williams. I think she preached here, and she talked about her toilet cleaning ministry. It's not really a toilet cleaning ministry, but she felt convicted at one point that, you know what? Even when you're cleaning toilets, you should clean toilets as though you're cleaning God's toilet. And she took that very seriously. So everything we do, he likes it when we work diligently and we work hard. And he loves our good works, but more than anything, he wants our love. He wants our heart. He wants our attention. He wants us. And we're going to see today, we're going to be looking at the letter addressed. Now I should rephrase that. This was one letter. All of the churches were included in one letter. And it was like this circular letter that was passed between all the churches. So they got to read each other's mail. So the church of Smyrna and Pergamum and Thyatira, they got to see what God was saying about the church of Ephesus, the church in Ephesus. And that's the letter we're going to be looking at today. Revelation 2, the first part, is a letter to the church in Ephesus. And what you need to understand about this letter is it was a letter for the time. So it was a letter in the moment where Jesus was addressing what was happening in the church in Ephesus. But it's also very much a prophetic letter for us, the church of Northridge. And so there's a lot that we can take from it. And it might feel at times like it's a letter addressed to Northridge Church because it really applies to us. So he wants our love. Revelation 2:1 says this. To the angel of the church in Ephesus, write, so this is Jesus talking to John, telling him what to write. The words of him who holds the 7 stars in his right hand, who walks among the 7 golden lampstands. We talked last week about this imagery of the 7 stars and the 7 lampstands. And it was spelled out for us in Revelation 1. The 7 stars, they represent the angels of the 7 churches. So to each church there was an assigned angel. And when they showed the stars in his hand, how he held the stars, these are the 7 angels of those churches. And then the 7 lampstands are the churches themselves. I want to go back and look at a word that I don't have highlighted here, that I found beautiful this week. The words of him who holds the 7 stars. I love this picture that Jesus is the sustainer, that he is holding, he is in the presence of, and he is holding, he's in control. He's the boss of these 7 stars and the 7 golden lampstands. That word holding was really ministered to me this week. Last week we talked about how this is God's church. This isn't Shanna's church, although sometimes I'll refer to it as Shanna's church, I think. It's not my church. It's not your church. This is God's church. And he holds it. He sustains it. He keeps it. It's an important word. All right, Revelation 2:2 says this. And here we get to the content of what God has for us, what Jesus is saying to John to write to the church in Ephesus. He says, I know your works, your toil, and your patient endurance, and how you cannot bear with those who are evil, but have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and found them to be false. One thing that's important before I get to why these are highlighted is you need to get an understanding of the pulse or the tone, the culture of Ephesus. Ephesus is an incredibly significant city at this time. In fact, one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world was in Ephesus. And it's this temple dedicated to Diana, who is the fertility goddess. And again, one of the 7 wonders of the world. I've never seen it. Actually, to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a picture of it. It's amazing. And it's a wonder of the world. It must be amazing, right? But it was a central figure in this time and culture where they would go to worship Diana. And the way they worshipped her was, she's the goddess of fertility, so very sexualized god. And the practices at this temple were quite something when you read through it. Obviously not what God has for us. It was the center of sorcery. It was the center of Satan worship at the same time. Right, overt Satan worship. There was a real sinful tone to Ephesus. And the church of Ephesus was operating in that culture. And keep in mind, this is also time in our world history where the church is under persecution as well. So it's not an easy job to do this. And so Jesus says to John to write to the people of Ephesus, I know your works, your toil, your patient endurance. I see what you're doing. And this is one of those moments where I feel like, I want you to know that when you're setting up the little soft PlayStation for the kids in the back, when you're setting up the coffee, when you're setting up the chairs, when you're cleaning the hub, when you're doing these things, God sees your patient endurance. We've been doing this for 11 years. It can get old. There are days like this morning where we grit our teeth a little bit as we set up. We don't necessarily work with a whistle and a joyful canter in our step. And he sees that work and that toil. And I've listed them as points in green. Well, I think I've got it. Yeah, because they're considered positives. These are the things Jesus is telling John to write about Ephesus that are positives. Your works, your toil, your patient endurance. In addition to that, he refers to the fact that they can't bear with those who are evil. One of the things, and we know this to be true, when you live in culture, you become affected by culture. And the culture around them was palpable. It was this living thing that couldn't not have an effect on them as a church. Everybody around them, it's like they're going downstream, and the church of Ephesus is kind of working against it. And he identifies this truth that they can't bear with those who are evil. They're not going to stand for it. They identify evil and they kind of out it in their church. And this is something that Jesus lists as a positive of the church of Ephesus. So this is kind of this moment of encouragement. But he goes on. In Revelation 2, verse 3, it says, I know you are enduring patiently and bearing up for my name's sake, and you have not grown weary. He's admiring their not just discipline, but their stick-to-itiveness in the church. And here we go, Revelation 2, verse 4. But I have this against you. I don't know if you can even read this because I should have done red on black here. I have this against you, that you have abandoned the love that you had at first. So this is the mark against them. They've abandoned their first love. And I want to look at this problem and kind of juxtapose it against the two positives, the things that were going well for the church of Ephesus. Okay, their work, their toil, their patient endurance, those things were seen as positives, but they've abandoned their first love. Northridge, this is a pitfall that we've got to find a way to avoid. I can tell you, there have been Sundays where I have not had a very pure heart when I'm setting up, where I'm not doing things for the right reasons. My first love is in the rearview mirror a long ways back. I'm doing the work, I'm doing the toil, I've been faithful, but I'm grumbling inside, I'm a little resentful. And so, although we're doing those good things, it is so important that we can keep in the forefront and keep in our sight of vision the reason why we do these things. Why do we set up coffee every week? It's not just that we like coffee. It's an excuse for us to kind of stand around and have something in our hands. It's a little less awkward, so we can share our stories from the week. There's a reason for it. Why do we set this up every week? There's a reason for it. And if we lose sight of our first love, if we go on and do all these things, the work and the toil and the patient endurance, but we lose sight of our first love, it's almost like we've undercut the great things that are happening. This is incredibly important to Jesus. And let's skip on to the next one. The second point was that, I'm going to put up on the screen just so we have it here. We can't bear with those who are evil. This is a fun one for the world today. If you're on any platform of social media, you'll see that people have an opinion about everything. And social media is one of those places where you can just share it with a click of a button. And it's a good thing when we don't get sucked in to the lies of the world. But when we are doing this well, but we've also abandoned our first love, we can do more harm than good. I've seen posts on social media attacking sin. And God has identified this as a positive, that we don't tolerate evil. We don't have a place for evil. But if we do that, and we ignore that component of love, then a lot of times we're just doing it to win arguments. A lot of times we're doing it just so that people know what's evil, that the evil gets outed, but we're not doing it in a loving way. And here's the thing. I think the key to both of these things, the way that we avoid abandoning our first love, is through relationship. First, our relationship with the Father. If we are constantly pursuing Him, if He truly is our first love, then that will inform our work and our toil. If we see that we're doing something for God, if we're doing it because we love Him so much, it's less of a chore. Am I right? Do you remember dating? Maybe you are currently dating a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or if you're married, do you remember dating your husband or your wife before they were your husband and wife? And do you remember, well, hopefully this is true, do you remember the time you spent planning for a date, thinking ahead, well, what could I do that would bless my girlfriend or my boyfriend? Yeah, I'm getting some giggles. Maybe we're not great at doing this. But I know I was a little corny, and I cared about it being an enjoyable evening for my wife. Well, still, I guess, for my wife now, but when she was my girlfriend. I cared about that. And there were things, actually, it's funny, she has a birthday tomorrow, so I'll give her bumps after service. And I have not done a great job of planning a little birthday getaway. Like, it's just been very off the cuff. So I'm slacking. I've abandoned my first love. No, I do love them. But when you're dating and you've got this almost obsession or fixation on the person, then the works and the toil, the planning, that stuff is easy. It's a joy because you're doing it with almost like this little giggle on your face. Do you have a giggle on your face? A little smirk or smile on your face, knowing that this is going to be something that he or she loves. You get excited when you're wrapping a gift. You get excited for the moment when they open that gift, and they see the thought you put into it. That's what it looks like when we don't abandon our first love. Setting up, and I'm using set up as an example. There's so many ministries. I think of our Sunday school teachers in the back right now. There's so many things that people do. And if we do them, and this is going to sound a little bit corny, but bear with me. If we do them with this excitement and expectation that by setting this chair up, you are setting somebody up to receive God's word. If you have that perspective, that changes the way you set up the chair. Andrew's funny this morning. He's a little bit OCD. He's an accountant, and he was like, okay, I'm setting up these chairs, but I really want like a geometry set to make sure that everything's lined up perfectly. And I love that. I love that heart for not just doing it, but doing it well. Uncle Rob used to love it when Mark Smead was on chairs. Because when he'd walk in and they were like laser straight, he knew that Mark had set up. He did it as though unto the Lord. But if you have that expectation that what you are doing is going to have significance for the one that you love, it changes your heart for doing it. In the same way, and this is a bit of a hammer, it's going to affect some of you more than others. In the same way, when you address an issue, like let's say you see something to be wrong, and maybe even evil, there are two ways you can come at it. You can bring the hammer and punish them for their evilness. Or because you have a relationship with them, because of your love for them, you can bring correction. You can kind of reorient them, help them to see the better path, what God has for them. They're the same thing. They're both addressing sin. They're both maybe even addressing evil. But they have very different feels to them, do they not? And I don't know about your experiences, but maybe parenting is a good example. How many times have you just dropped the hammer on your kid? You knew they were wrong, you got in a fight, and you're just like basking in the fact that you are right and they are wrong. Okay? I've been there. I like to be there more than I should. And when you drop the hammer like that, how often do they have this moment of realization like, Dad, you're so wise. Thank you for turning the lights on in my life and pointing me in the right direction. That's not how it goes. They don't care how right you are. They're going to be mad and they're not going to receive it well. But if somehow you can come at the situation and present it in a way where they can see that you love them, and because you love them, you want what's best for them. And because you want what's best for them, it's not okay for them to walk the path they're walking on. It's a very different conversation. It's still very much an art when it comes to it's an art that I'm a rookie at and I'm running out of kids to practice on. But maybe I'll be a really good grandpa. I don't know. Here's the point. This is a big deal to God. He says all these nice things about the church of Ephesus, but he says, I hold this against you. This is a big deal. I hold this against you. You have abandoned your first love. You do these good things, and you're addressing evil, but you forgot the love part. Church, if we're going to be accused of doing anything wrong as a church, this isn't the thing I want to have said about us, that we forgot the love part. I don't want people saying, oh man, they're doing so many good things in their community. But they're not very nice, not very loving. Or I don't want them to look at us and like, wow, these people are all so righteous and so holy. They have purged all evil out of their congregation. But they don't really love anybody. I don't want that to be said about our church. In fact, the word says it best, that we should be known by our love. When we call ourselves Christ followers, and we do it without love, we are actually doing a harm to the kingdom. But when we demonstrate love, and here's the last thing, I could go on a really long tangent on this. And this is what you're going to come up against a lot in the world today. Because people feel that if you disagree with them, well, you can't love them. If you don't see things the same way as them, well, then that's hate. And that's not true. You can disagree with somebody. You can have a very healthy debate in love. I often tell people, especially when we're dealing with church stuff, it's like, if I didn't care about you, I'd ignore you. I'm not looking for more problems to deal with. But when I come to you and we have a conversation that is intense and is direct, I do it because you're worth it. It's out of love, or at least I hope it's out of love, whether it's presented that way or not. And believe me, I've made the mistake of not presenting it in a very loving way. But we can engage in our differences out of love as well. Revelation 2:5 says this, "Remember therefore from where you have fallen, repent and do the works you did at first. If not, I will come to you and remove your lampstand from its place unless you repent." Let's break this down. It's very simple. Here's the takeaway for all of today. Number one, remember where you've fallen. And let me back up just for a second. This is a letter that covers a lot of ground. This is a letter from Jesus to the church in Ephesus in that time and place. So it's historic. It's addressing something that happened thousands of years ago. But it's also something that is addressed to us, the Big C Church. Whether that be Northridge or MRCC or whatever church meets at Westminster Abbey in England. I don't know a lot of churches in the world, but all these other churches, it's addressed to all of us. But then there's a third part of this. This is a word for you as an individual. Because what Noreen is dealing with is going to be different than what Emily's dealing with, and what Stefan's dealing with. We need to remember where we've fallen. I need to identify my shortcomings. The second thing is I need to repent. And that repenting is that physical turning from this direction and changing to go the other direction, to change my actions. After I remember where I've fallen, after I remember where I have slipped up, I need to stop doing that. Go the other way. The third thing is do the works you did at first. Last week we reflected on the history of Northridge. And one of the things I have this vivid memory of, and it just looks different today. There are wonderful things happening today, but it looks different. But there was this excitement about each Sunday. There was something about it, and there was this joy in what we were doing. And it's hard to have this patient endurance like he talked about at the very beginning. But he tells us to do the works you did at first. And do it the way you did it at first. With this understanding that, with this Christ focus. And here's the kicker. He says, do these things. This is what I have for you to do. Or I'll remove you as a church. He's not messing around. When he says that we need to attend to our first love, this is not you know what, you're doing great, and if you want to just kind of turn it up a notch, do a little bit better with the love. This is sort this out, or I will literally remove your lampstand, is what it says in the verse, what was that? Revelation 2:5. If not, I will come to you and remove your lampstand from its place unless you repent. If you don't sort out this lack of love, Church of Ephesus, I will remove you as a church. If that doesn't get your attention, I don't know what will. That's kind of a big deal. Jesus cares about this. Let's pray. Actually, I'll invite the worship team to come up as we pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you again for your word. What a blessing it is to us, or it can be to us when we read it, when we learn from it. And so today, Father, I pray that you would use this as a point of remembrance. That while it's good to be doing the good things, that you like it when we do good works. That we have been blessed to be a blessing to others. While that is all good, if we do it without a heart of love, we're missing the mark. And Father, you also remind us that it's not okay to flirt with evil. That's something that needs to be surgically removed from our lives. It's not something that we can dabble in and hope not to be affected by. But when we do it, when we address evil in our lives, or if we're in a relationship where we're called to address the evil or sin in somebody else's life, again remind us that we should have love. We should do it in love. And that our corrective actions should demonstrate love. Thank you for your word. Amen. We're going to have a time of response worship. And I don't know if there's been a better call to worship than to remember your first love. And sorry, I'm going to yammer on just a little bit longer. One of the things I love about kind of hanging out with the men from the house, from Hill and House, is there's a lot of guys who are either A, meeting Jesus for the first time, or B, they're being reminded of the Jesus they learned about as a child. There's this freshness to faith, this new enthusiasm. And you know what, honestly, for those of us who have been patiently enduring, sometimes it's like, yeah, my faith, yay. And we can lose that joy, and we abandon our first love. Church, use this as an opportunity and break through whatever is binding you right now. I know some of you got stuff you got to do after church. I probably shouldn't have said that because now you're thinking about that. But break through. Take this moment, this moment in time, to stand shoulder to shoulder with your brothers and sisters at Northridge, and let's worship this God. And hear what God has to say for us.
Hey guys. 11 years, I've never done this before, so here I am. But I felt God's call in my heart to just come up and share. First love, I'm going to really struggle through this. Boy, sure easy in life to forget the danger of losing sight on the first love. 2 years ago, I was at the Abbotsford Air Show. It was me and my two little boys. And it was at the end of the air show, and they were so good. It was such a wonderful day. And I look over and I told the boys, we're really good, we'll get you cotton candy at the very end. And I reached over to hand Griffin some cotton candy and he was gone. And I looked up and I didn't panic at first. I saw some people there. I said, can you watch my other boy? I said, I gotta go search for my other boy. And I scrambled around. And of course, if anyone's lost a child before, every minute feels like 30 minutes, right? It's just unbelievable. And I looked around, I was calm. 5 minutes had gone by, and I did circle and circle and circle, and I came back to the people. I said, I can't find my son. And they said, oh my goodness, show us a picture. I said, what is he wearing? I said, I don't even know. You lose your mind in situations like this. And so I said, just stay here. So I started running around, and I'm running. And it doesn't matter in a situation like that how fast you run, how far you run. It didn't didn't matter because I wasn't seeing him. This is my boy. Well, 15 minutes had gone by. The snowbirds had finished. It was the last show. And in the Abbotsford Air Show, you got outhouses, you got food trucks, you got everything. You can't see, there's no clear line of sight. I had no clear line of sight on my little boy. Bodies moving everywhere at this point. It was the most horrific thing any parent to go through. I'm thinking, God, nothing else in my life matters. No business deal. Nothing matters but this boy. He says, John, that's the way I feel about you. I'm going, don't teach me this way. Oh, this is bad. So, my heart's just breaking. I'm now running around crying. I bump into, I was running to the front gates, running everywhere. Finally, I didn't see any policemen. Finally, I get a policeman. He says, "Oh, tell me what your son's wearing. Tell me what's." I said, "I don't." Oh, and then suddenly I had a picture on my phone. I realized I'd taken. I said, "Oh, let me see." And he goes, "Look at that." So then he gets on the radio, starts radioing everybody, and but now he had the information. He says, "Don't worry, don't worry." Of course, it's not going to help me at this point. I just started running still. I was running around, and the ground had almost cleared out completely. And you can imagine what my heart was feeling like at that moment. And I get a phone call. So we have your little boy. And I ran so hard and so fast to find him. And what do? They put a gold wings on him. And he's smiling like you can't believe. I was like, why'd you give out gold wings? And all those people there felt the emotion. And I wrapped my little boy, and there's paramedics and policemen, and they were all crying. Boy, when the little boy comes back to the father, and we come back to that first love, it's an amazing thing. I tell you, my heart was so broken, and I can tell you the amount that God showed me through that was just phenomenal. Because we all struggle with that. We all struggle with losing our first love. We all struggle with it weekly, monthly, yearly. There's moments where Satan wants to take that from us. My little boy didn't know the danger he was putting himself in. He had no idea. We don't know the danger we put ourselves in when we venture outside and we think that that's fine. None of us do. He had the gold wings. He thought he was all fine. He wasn't panicking. He was out. They found him out in the parking lot where cars were moving all around, and somebody somebody saw and went, "Why is there a 3-year-old walking around the cars that are leaving?" And it takes that much, the whole grounds to be cleared out for somebody to identify that. Anyhow, at that point, God really broke my heart. And it was just this complete revelation for me, is that, John, that's how much I love you, right? That's how much I love every single one of you. And it was a real moment where I realized how much, because how great my love was for my son, that's not even a fraction of what God's love is for us, right? It's unbelievable. And I tell you, that was one of the most emotional experiences. And then I had to go home and tell my wife what happened. So that wasn't big time. So be kind here. When a man's crying in front of his wife, she's very graceful. Thank you for allowing me to share. I just thought that's something with the tied in here, and it was interesting because I kind of felt in my heart, today God brought that up, and I knew that was a huge learning thing for me, and I somehow felt that God would one day give me a moment where it would spurn on those things. And we all have those kind of experiences where it can bless somebody else. And I just want that to go with you guys for today. So, love you all.
Another picture of desperation. That's a whole other level of love, right? Where it feels like you can't live without it. And I know I'm very guilty of kind of meandering through life and knowing that God's there, that He loves me, and that's all great. I don't know that I always have that desperation. It's a great reminder. Thanks, John. One more thing I want to add to this is I used as illustrations a lot of things in the church. I went to set up 100 times. You might notice that I'm a little stressed out about setup. But this applies so much more broadly. My prayer for you is that when you leave here today, that those things that you work at, that you toil at, for most of us it's our jobs. Whether you're bagging groceries, or totaling up numbers, or teaching kids, or coaching kids, or whatever you've got to do this week. My prayer for you, my prayer for us, would be that we would do it with eyes on Jesus, with a love for Him, knowing that we've been given a position of either influence or responsibility, and that we should do it with a love and enthusiasm, a desperation to see it done well. Let's pray one more time. Father, I thank you for the different ways that you speak to your people. Thank you for that word that you gave Johnny. And even though it was horrific, I can't even imagine walking through that. We thank you that you gave him that experience, that it ended well, that he was able to use that and translate that into a reminder that we need to be the desperate type of in love with you. Lord, forgive us for those times when we become casual acquaintances. Forgive us for those times when we visit you on occasion. And Lord, I pray that you would draw us near to you, into relationship with you. So this would be a thing that when you're not around, when we're not around you, when we're not popular with you, there's this desperation to get back. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Be blessed, and we'll see you next week.